relationship. Today we are looking at episode 36. Conflict is a must in every marriage relationship. With me this evening is a F.I.N.D relationship coach, Reverend Caleb Calebs. Please, can you greet the viewers?
Wow, welcome viewers. It's become a tradition for us. Consistency is the rule of the game, and we believe that every week these little drops of water from the fountains of wisdom and knowledge is helping to break every obstacles and rolling away every barriers in your marriage. Today is awesome week, and I believe that each and every one of you can get your people in Facebook, form a watch party. You can also go to our YouTube Life Mending World Mission and then click if you're a new visitor, or you just subscribe so that you can always get the update of our online live shooting and also uploads. So today is a very awesome, as the woman of God had already introduced this particular day. Conflict is a must in every marriage relationship. Initially, I never believed that, but as I'm growing up in this relationship, being in it for 25 years, I begin to understand that the principle can never be changed. So today, as we attack this, I want to first of all read a scripture from Mark chapter 3, verse 25. Mark chapter 3, verse 25, Jesus said, "And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand." This is truth, this is principle, this is awesome for us to know. Jesus said, if a house be divided within itself, that house can never stand. Now, baby, that brings me to a life issue, a few story, episode, things that we did, and you need to understand this case. Let me take some time to put this case in front of you, because it will help you to understand what we're dealing with today. There is this couple that are newly married, a month after their marriage. Their name is Jake and Janet. Within the month, the whole relationship was full of romance. It was full of sweetness, and strong attractiveness was the bane of the game. But one day, Jake was dropping off Janet to work. Right there, you know what husband, especially newly married ones, they do. So Jake dropped Janet and he drove off to his own workplace. And all of a sudden, the first call he received was from Janet. Janet have just reached to the office, and the boss have informed Janet that they will be going on 1 week job trip, and that will take them out of the city. And that will happen the next month, and that definitely means that the third Friday of that next month will be her point of arrival. So she now called Jakes to take permission to notify him that this is what is going on. Jakes approved unto her, even though it was painful that she is going to miss her for that particular week. Then, after many hours, Johnson called Jakes, and Justin had been an ex-old school friend whom Jakes have not seen for the past 10 years. So Johnson called Jakes and said, "See, I'm coming into the city on a business trip, and it will be a wonderful time to reconnect with you." Out of excitement, Jakes made a booking automatically that Johnson have to be in their house, and to make it more flavored, that the first night, which is a Friday, the third Friday, will be a special outing, both of them alone, and they are going to catch their fun and catch their stories. So the work ended, and all of a sudden, Jakes drove back, picked Janet. They had a wonderful time driving home. In home, the dinner is already served, and they're about to eat, and on the table, Jakes begin to tell Janet about the guests they're about to have, and to couple it up, that particular Friday, which is the third Friday, that Jakes and Johnson, all of them are going to go out together apart without Janet. And the appetite for Janet vanished right on the table. Because right now, Janet was so furious because Jakes had made this particular appointment without even consulting her, without even speaking and discussing with her as she did unto him earlier of that particular hour. So the heat of that particular incident almost broke their marriage, because the misunderstanding, the conflict, the quarreling messed up that particular wedding, and she was threatened to pack out of the house because of the build-up that followed. Now, when this came onto us, we discovered that the major problem in this particular incident was interpretation. It was interpretation because Janet was interpreting the action of Jakes by not discussing with her first of all as a situation whereby he doesn't value her, he doesn't have regard for her. If you have regard for her and you think that she's special to him, he should have consulted her before ever making the booking. But Jakes refuted that argument and said, no, how will I tell my friend that I need to consult my wife before ever I make any decision? It will look as if I have to take permission. I think you are controlling me. I think you're not allowing me to be the man that I am. And that was the two parallel argument that almost broke that particular marriage. Today, in this particular studio, I want us to talk about it because this is the background of what we are dealing today. Let me first of all ask woman of God, let her begin this story. Between Jakes and Janet, who do you think that was wrong?
No, the two of them, they are right.
Both of them are right?
Both of them are right because Jakes is thinking the way he's thinking because of his world, where he's coming from. And Janet is also thinking the way she's thinking because of her world, where she's coming from. The way men think is different from the way the women think. So the men think authority, the men think status, but for women, they look at it, you must accept me, you must regard me, you understand, you must give me my place. I don't know if you got what I'm saying.
Yes.
So every woman wants to be recognized, wants to be honored, wants to be respected. So because of that, she is talking from her world, from her makeup as a woman, while Jakes was also talking from his makeup as a man. So the both of them are right.
So that brings us to look at marriage and conflict. We are saying today that conflict is a must in every marriage relationship. And if you look at the story background and from what the woman of God has spoken today, you can understand why we are saying that there is no conflict-free marriage relationship. In fact, the presence of conflict in your marriage does not make your marriage unsuccessful. You need to understand that in every marriage, there must be a conflict situation. And that conflict situation does not have the ability to break your relationship. Let's look at it today. What are those things that are in the marriage that brings conflict? If you look at the story of Jakes and Janet, you'll find out the first thing that you find out is upbringing. Because when we begin to look at the whole thing, we find out that Jakes was coming from a background that believes that the world is men's world. You understand what I'm saying? My wife does not have to control me. In fact, he interpreted discussing his affairs with his wife before making decision. He looked at it as permission. He looks at it as something that the woman is now the one that is controlling me. And you know that that is about upbringing, because when people are brought up in different environment, that environment have a way of shaping their life. Woman of God, do you have anything to contribute about that upbringing of people and how they think?
Yeah, upbringing, where you grow up is very, very important. The environment where you grow up, the family who raised you,
where you were raised.
Yeah, because you will act, it will affect your life. You will act based on how you were raised. You will live your life based on the training, the teachings you have. Like some people are trained that you don't leave your dirty plate overnight. So when you get into that relationship, you are coming in with that.
That's true. That's true.
And some were raised that you must brush your mouth before you take your bath, while some were raised you must finish bathing before you brush your mouth. You understand? So when you come into a marriage relationship, it begins to affect that relationship.
That's true.
So it's either you try to change your own way,
or you you're putting pressure on the
other man to change.
Yeah.
And when you put pressure on the man or the woman to change, there is conflict.
So this is very exciting. First of all, to parents. Parents, understand that your marriage is not only just about you. The moment you are, the way you relate with your spouse before your children is also a model. You are modeling the truth before them, and you are also training and raising up the generation next of marriage. Each and every one of us parents, we are modeling. If you beat your wife up in front of your boys, remember that in less than no time, your boys will grow up to beat up their own wives. If you are messing up as a mother, you bring your boyfriend into your marriage and you mess up in front of your girls, remember that you are not just doing it with that spouse that you have, you are also raising the generation next. As a matter of fact, that is what is happening to us today, because we have become a generation that have no father in our homes, that have no mother image in our homes, and these things are the things that are bringing conflict. Now to you that are married, when you are making decisions to marry, the man and the woman, the spouse, when you are making decision to marry, you need to understand something, that when you get married with a lady or a man, you are not just marrying the lady and the man. You are marrying who raised them. You're marrying who raised them. You are getting married with where they were raised. You are getting married with the culture, the tradition, the things that molded them from their formative age. You are getting married with all those things all loaded, because the person you are getting married with is somebody that is carrying the attitudes and the models of generation of where they were raised, and they are coming in. And these things are the things that brings conflict, because two people raised from different cultural background, different upbringing, even if it is the same culture, but from different families, it is important you know that certain things that happen in that family is going to come into the family. So I think that's what our mothers did. I remember when I declared that I want to get married to you, my people went to your place to ask to ask questions. Who is his father? What about the family? Is the family? What goes on in the family? This is very, very vital, and it contributed to Jake's and Janet's situation. The next thing that we found out was gender engineered gender engineered situations. Because of their gender differences, each and every one of them was bringing something into that marriage. Mama talked about it. She talked about the woman world and the man world. The woman was talking because she lives in the world. In the world of the woman, conversation is a fight to have connection, to have intimacy, to have association. No woman wants to be pushed out. If you are not involving them, they are interpreting it as being devalued, being pushed aside, not being connected. You understand what I'm talking about? Yeah, that's the truth of the matter. That's how women interpret things. They think differently according to their world. They also look at things differently according to their world. They love differently. They respond differently. They act differently. The woman's world is different from the man's world. Two of them coming together, each of them cleaving onto their world, there are bound to be conflict. There are bound to be conflict. So if somebody tells you that they don't have conflict in their marriage, it's either they have not begun their marriage, or they are lying, or they are not even sensitive to what is happening to each other. In every marriage, there has to be conflict. But now, does it mean that our relationships are doomed to break down? Because we've never seen any marriage relationship that broke down without conflict. The presence of conflict, does it mean that every marriage is doomed to break down? Woman of God, I'm asking you right now, since we have said that conflict is a must in every relationship, does it then mean that every marriage has to or is destined to break down, since there had never been a marriage that broke down without conflict? What's your response to this?
No, the relationship needs not to break down. I say to people, I say conflict is like a manual in relationship. Conflict
is like a manual.
Yeah. It's important. It's part of the journey. It's part of what brings the couples together. It is part of what makes the relationship to be strong. It is part of what makes you to learn each other. So it is not meant to destroy the relationship, but the way you handle it becomes very important. The way you handle the conflict determine if the relationship is going to break or if it is going to grow to the next level. So my answer is no, sir.
Okay, so the presence of conflicts does not break the marriage. It is how you manage the conflict that decides whether the marriage will break down or not. And that brings me to the scriptural principle of our Lord Jesus Christ in Mark chapter 3 verse 25 that says that a house that is divided on its own is bound to collapse. In other words, you must not allow your disagreement to bring division into the house. Never you allow conflicts to grow to the point wherein it divides both the spouse in the house. We can disagree. We do disagree because of our gender difference, because of our difference in perspective, because of our orientation, because of our exposure and enlightenment and backgrounds also. So it's normal for us to disagree, but never allow your disagreement to build up to the place where it divides your relationship. Now, for you to do that, it's very simple. For you to do that, you need to understand that what breaks the marriage is not the presence of conflict. Why? Because the marriages that have crashed today were confronted with the same confrontation, things that are confronting the marriages that are still thriving. You can hear that I'm saying again. Thriving marriages today faces the same conflict with that of them that have crashed. But there is something those who are still traveling in their marriage are doing that those who have crashed their marriage are not doing. And that is what I'm telling you right now. If you allow the conflict, it will lead to division, and it will break down your relationship. Just like Jakes and Janet, they were not able to sort out that particular thing. So what breaks your marriage is not the presence of conflict, because those of them who are still married today, they are still going through the same conflict. Now, to help you to know how to deal with this before ever that it gets to the point of division, we can't finish it today, but I'm going to give you 3 major statements that will help you. First of all, who handled the conflict? Very important. Very important. Who resolved? Who attended to that conflict? You don't take conflict to a person who do not know how to, or have the skills or the wisdom to resolve your conflict. Who handle it is very important. The next thing that you need to note is when was it handled? Some people sweep a lot of things under the carpet. You continue to sweep it under the carpet until the carpet has become so swollen and the carpet is no more smooth for you to walk. So what happens is that you're going to strip on that particular carpet. So you need to understand that you need to be a proactive. You need to be a proactive person when it comes to conflict resolution. Don't be reactive. Don't wait until things breaks down. Then you begin to react like fire service. No, you need to be proactive. Watch out those conflict situations. Deal with it at that cradle level and be able to sort it out. So who handled it? Who handled it? When was it handled? And how was it handled? These are PowerPoints that can help you to deal with that conflict situation before ever it results onto division. Woman of God, I want you to say something as we begin to sign up.
Yeah, I want to say to us to pick up this principle. You are permitted to disagree, but to agree. Mm-hmm. So when there is disagreement, it doesn't mean that there is a big problem. But you need to come to the point where you agree. Where it becomes a problem is when you continuously disagree and there is no meeting point for the two of you. In every problem, in every situation, you are permitted to be angry. But the Bible said, be angry but sin not. When you are angry, be looking for a way, a solution, not a way to break it.
There's a propensity of heart that will help you to be ever ready to sort out and resolve your conflict. You must be able, open, humble to learn from your spouse about what goes on in her world. My wife is a woman. I don't know what it means to be a woman. I'm a man. She doesn't know what it means to be a man. She needs to understand my world, and I need to understand her world. So what we have to do, I have to be open and humble enough to learn how she sees things by listening to her, by also fellowshipping with her, by interacting with her. That's what marriage is all about. That's what cleaving is all about. Remember, it is living, cleaving, and bonding. So you cleave by learning, humbling yourself. If your heart is so much cast, so much threatened that you say, no, I don't want to learn anything about a woman, I don't want to learn anything about a man, then it becomes a problem. So you need to be open and willing to understand the other person's word. And secondly, be very, very willing to train each other. That's all we can take today. God bless you. I thank you, Denji, for all that you have done with your studio to make this work, and also one point travel for all that you have contributed to this. Until we see next week, remember, it is fine relationship, and we're going to help you navigate against all odds until you come